Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. This is an anime podcast where every 2 weeks we watch an anime and then talk about it like a book club right here on this podcast before turning the discussion over to you. We also double as a really great drinking game for the word trope. So if you're a raging alcoholic and you need a good excuse, we're your guys. The economy works too. We actually are doing part 2 of an anime that we watched. We watched the second half, episodes 13 through 22 of Recreators. So if you're just pressing play on this for the first time or you missed that part 1, what we talk about might not make a lot of sense. You might want to go back 2 weeks to when we watched part 1, episodes 1 through 12, and join in from there. But hey, live your life. Do you. That's what I say. My name is Troy, and I will be the guy who is half asleep tonight. It's just what's going to happen. But I have 2 co-hosts who make everything better when they're here. And first off, we have the Rick to my Morty, Jeremy.
Hey,
how's it going?
I know those characters. Yeah, I was like, which one's which?
You're the one that wants the Szechuan sauce from McDonald's.
Just one. Don't
worry about it. You're not going to get it. Okay, just
okay.
To.
Apparently, I need to watch Rick and Morty. I'm doing good. I played a lot of BioShock Infinite. Actually, beat that. Started playing and beat it in like 3 days.
And you did the DLC.
And I did the DLC. Oh, that was great. Thoroughly enjoyed that. I know I'm late to the party with it, but I'm gonna miss her. Yeah,
great universe too. I really hope they do more with it, but
yeah,
if not, it's okay too. Our other host is the Bojack to my horseman, Jason.
Nihilism will reign supreme. Doing fantastic.
I didn't ask you. What you been up to?
I got RimWorld, and for those of you that are unfamiliar with it, it's one of the lowest graphic games I've ever played. That is the most in-depth survival management game that I've still to wrap my head around. Your guys can do things like not just mine and take care of animals, but then they can get into a relationship and then break up, and now their mood goes down when they pass each other in the halls when they're hauling crap. So then they start a fight. One of them gets a mental break, so then they have to subdue him, put him in a it's
for everyone bored right now. Yeah. I have to edit the excess of this.
I would love to see your reaction to a dwarven tantrum. Oh, they're amazing.
Okay.
An entire forest wiped by one dwarf having a bad day. Oh, it's great.
So when I was getting ready for this podcast, I was like, what am I going to talk about that I've been doing over the past 2 weeks? And I'm in a special time of the year where summer blockbusters are coming out to home video. Video games are getting released before the Christmas big sales, and also my birthday happened. So a lot of stuff hits me at once. So I've made a list of everything I've enjoyed recently, and I'm not going to comment any further on it. If they're on this list, I enjoyed them. If they're not on this list, looking at you, The Mummy with Tom Cruise, I didn't like them that much.
Well, that one wasn't very good because one of the lines is, you can't run from this.
You can't run from this. Well, then what's the point of hiring Tom Cruise?
What's left?
That's what he does.
So here's my list of the past 2 weeks.
Speaking of Snooze Fest.
Spider-Man Homecoming, Wonder Woman, Destiny 2, Persona 5, Fortnite Battle Royale, Star Wars Battlefront 2, that's the game, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Inferno Squad, that's the book, Star Wars Marvel comic books, Rick and Morty, BoJack Horseman, Star Trek Discovery, and South Park. Those are all good. It's been a busy 2 weeks of not doing anything important.
Is that South Park the series or the Fractured Butthole? I mean,
series Fractured Butthole shows up at my house in like a week. So
okay.
As if I wasn't busy enough. And all these things are great. It's just that time of the year where, I don't have a life.
What was there one thing you can point to that really upset you about The Mummy? Because I was actually contemplating.
You want to go back to The Mummy?
I really do.
The Mummy sucked, and not because of the actress. They just didn't give her anything to do. Thinking back to Brendan Fraser's Mummy, they gave that mummy so much to do. Like, he ran around and had cool powers and had agendas, and this one was just like, sup. Wind. That's my review of The Mummy.
Okay.
It's always fun to watch Tom Cruise run, but
you know what the other thing is you tried to do this week? You tried to convince us that the live-action Speed Racer was good.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so someone please support me on this. Live-action Speed Racer is a good movie. That ending scene is amazing. I'd rather watch that than any of the Matrix movies. But I feel like I'm alone.
Even the first one?
For that final scene, yes. The Matrix as a whole is better than Speed Racer, I think. But that final scene, that final race, guys, I always say I cry. What I mean is I tear up at it every time.
He's like weeping. I don't know. The car fighting thing was just, maybe if I had actually seen the rest of the show.
You guys, okay, so these two have only seen the final race. They haven't seen the whole movie and like got the world building. That's not fair. You can't judge the world on it.
I mean, come on. Those kinds of speeds, I'm seeing what's going on, and then he's actually got the reflexes and the hand-eye coordination and even the mental capacity to like judge how to flip a car just right using special jumpers.
But I mean, it's like F-Zero or any anime racing series.
I can buy that.
Yeah. It's just their world that they can. That racing is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
the fact that the little boy and the monkey can do pretty well for themselves too. That's where it gets unbelievable. Look, we need to talk about our anime.
Okay.
It's probably going to be a shorter of our episodes. Now watch, we'll run long. But just because in this part of Recreators, they really just did the payoff of everything they built up in part one, but there wasn't a whole lot of scene-to-scene structure that you need to explain. It was really just like, and cool battles. So, get ready for a shorter episode. But before we do that, let's give our spoiler-free reviews of Part 2. At the end of this, we will give our reviews for the whole series and Part 2, but this is our spoiler-free of just this section. Jason, this was your choice, so go ahead.
I was happy with the majority of what I saw, and the majority of my expectations were met. So I did enjoy it. We'll get into it more, but Magane kind of disappeared in the second half, and I was really disappointed about that. But besides that, just like you said, things were wrapped up nicely, and really good storytelling.
How about you, Jeremy?
I liked it more than I liked the first season, actually. I did have one area that it was kind of glaring. I wasn't really satisfied by it, but it was logical. I understand the decisions they made. But yeah, I still really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it.
So I want to put out that I think this is a really good ending, and I think this is a really good anime in general. I'm having worries about the pacing, and I haven't been sold on it yet. It's very different from what I've seen before. And like what I was talking about when I said this is going to be a short episode, there's just not a whole lot of substance. It's all payoff for everything they built in the first season is what I felt like. And I almost feel like they either could have paced it better with more, or maybe even just done this in a movie and finished it off. But I'm not sure. And these two guys are going to help convince me yay or nay. But again, good anime, good ending. So what did you guys think of the new opening and closing of part 2?
Super emotional. Like that opening scene of Altair grabbing that heart, and then her like having just the presence ripped away from her just was you could see it. Like the animators were just so, and I love what you said. You're like, her hair was literally designed to make the animators in hell. But the animators did a fantastic job, and the actresses did amazing as well. But you could see it in her face, just this sense of loss and torn emotions, and then just this feeling of nothing matters anymore in the span of literally 1.5 seconds, and I loved it. So the music was good too.
I enjoyed the music. Actually, at first, when I first started listening to it, I thought, what? I know it's always a different score, but from season to season. But I didn't really like what they did at the beginning. But as soon as the song started picking up, I liked it. It was really good. Yeah, as far as sound and everything, yeah, it was good. It was good.
For the most part, I was actually kind of found it bland, especially coming off of Gravity Wall, the song from the part 1 intro, coming over to this part 2 intro. I actually probably skipped this intro more than I usually do. And I usually was skipping the ending too, until I watched it one time near the end, and I saw that scene of where they're all in cartoony form dancing on or fighting on the pages, but they're like fighting or playing, and everyone's doing some random activity, and Alice Terria is staring down at the drawing of Mamika wistfully, and that really got me. So let's move on to our spoiler section. So this is our spoiler warning. From now on, we will be talking about plot details and character details. So if you have not seen the anime, this is the part to stop. We always give our spoiler warning here. You should know the plan by now. So let's go on. Episode 13 is just a recap episode. And for the most part, Jeremy said don't skip it, and so I went back and watched it. He's probably right. There's a lot of great moments in it, but it is, at the end of the day, it does just serve a recap episode purpose. So if you absolutely are on a time crunch, this is the episode to skip. But what were your guys' favorite moments from this recap?
The one that stands out, obviously, for me was when Meteora was trying to convince you about her first encounter with Altair, and how she was this beautiful, and it's like it shows zooming up, and she's wearing a bikini, and she's got like this billowing cloak, and it shows sexy, and then it shows cute.
He's a good looking Meteora.
Yeah, that was a really pretty Meteora. Different hair, slightly different face, everything was different, and I was dying laughing at how she was like, yes, and this ended everything. This completed, eliminated Altair.
The story ended.
Yeah. But I also loved how throughout the entire thing, she was kind of breaking the fourth wall and talking from the perspective of the artists and from the perspective of, complaining about different characters. And that was another one of my favorite moments, was when she was complaining about Altair's design, because she actually was the one that said, this character was designed to give artists a headache, to give animators a hard time. It was great.
How about you, Jason? Anything stand out?
Not particularly. I thought the bikini-clad Meteor was funny. But I think what I appreciated about it was how intelligent this episode was. Because it did do a little bit of explaining of some of the things that you might have missed.
Like Yuya's, that he had killed his friend's sister and best friend. We had even said last time we did our thing that, he just seems like the rival type. And then they're like, oh no, there's a murder in between in this mix. And then we didn't get that until Meteora did her recap.
Right.
Yep.
But I think the funny part for me was when she was playing pool. I don't remember exactly what she said, but I remember chuckling.
I just like that they brought back the bikini. My favorite one is actually the end of it, where she's talking about doing a recap episode. And she's like, "Don't worry, the industry is not dying. The series isn't over. We had planned a recap episode from the beginning." That was very, very meta, very fourth wall breaking. Because it's usually the, hey, let's skip this episode. Why would you bother do this? Even now, I'm kind of like, you probably could have done more with this episode than that. I actually feel in total, because it's only a 22 arc series, but the middle's at 12, so they didn't go to 24. I felt like they were like, what's the minimal amount of episodes we can do? Because we don't need all these episodes to finish our story. Yeah. And they're like, well, you could do this many. Oh, that's one too many. Well, we could do a recap.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that's how that came about. And again, that ties into my pacing thing. I just wonder if a whole season was way more than they needed and they were trying to figure out ways to burn time.
I do have to say that it just specifically about a summary episode, this is the way to do it. If you're going to make a summary episode, copy this formula. It was so good. I would want this for entertainment.
Have Deadpool do it for you.
Exactly. Deadpool Meteora.
Okay, so before we get into the story proper, I want to use this time to talk about any character changes or growth or not growth about all the characters we met in the last part. Because I don't feel like any character had a huge arc in this thing, or except for maybe a few examples. What do you guys want to call out character-wise that we can talk about here?
I wanted to specifically talk about both Blitz and Sota. Sota was kind of our shell for the audience to see the world through in the first half. And he, even though he was there a lot of the time, he didn't have really any impactful moments until near the end of the first half. And he wasn't one to focus on. In this one, he kind of had a similar role in the first half, but then near the end, he became fairly pivotal. And he took that pain from the first half and was able to transform it into something that saved the world. So I found that fairly inspiring. And then the one, Blitz had a complete 180 in a believable fashion for me. Because in the pre-show we were talking, when he meets his creator that basically made him murder his own daughter. This first thing he does, bullet to the chest or to the stomach, and I could see doing that.
Eating death.
Right. But yeah, that whole turnaround arc when his daughter came, and that's the thing is like they made this believable story about the past 6 months of merging these worlds together, because she makes the point. It's like, yeah, in your world, there's no way of bringing people back, but in Meteora's world, so yeah,
the way is it Sagaru or Sugura, his creator, and the way she's like, hey, be careful, I might kill you again.
I see those two characters, her and Blitz, as almost like prowling tigers that were circling each other. Just their body language, the way they spoke, the subdued tones, everything was they were very powerful creatures, the way that they focused on each other. It was really cool. You don't see that viewpoint very often expressed from them. Wouldn't even be the right time to use that word yet.
Those were the two that really hit me the hardest in this one, as far as arc. There definitely. Okay. I could talk for days on the rest of the characters, but those were the ones that stood out to me.
Yeah, I think as far as for me, characters that really made a big transition between the end of the last season and the beginning of this season, I don't really see maybe Alicetaria a little bit, because that she released. I liked her change. We didn't really get an arc. She was just when we saw her, she's kind of finished her arc. That's what I mean. Yeah, it's like her arc kind of took place off camera between the seasons, and we got to see that now she had changed.
I felt her fight with Altair. I won't spoil it yet because we haven't gotten to that. Or have we? Have we given spoilers? It felt cheap. We gave spoiler warnings, but let's save it for when we get. Yeah. But I just want to say it felt cheap.
Really? Yeah. Oh. We'll get into it there.
Except for you predicted it last episode.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But
Like I was like,
I,
oh my
I
gosh,
think I know what you mean.
The thing Jason said was going to happen. It was with a different villain, but it was the same power, and exactly
way.
happened what you said was going to
Yeah.
happen. What you had expected to happen happened, and I was like, wow, he really nailed that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it coming too. But yeah, like I said, we'll talk about it more, and I'll give my reasons why I thought it was cheap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I think my biggest issue with characters was Celsia again. I don't feel she grew. And then when we got a big character moment with her, it was with a new character that we hadn't talked about. We knew of him, and we knew like, hey, they're from this anime together. And you could probably make some guesses about where that came from. But when they're having their big emotional moment, I'm like, you didn't set this up at all.
No, and it didn't. It felt forced. Because you have these two people that have been through hell and back in their own stories, and the trust between them would be absolutely unbreakable. And for 5 minutes with another character, and all of a sudden now he can't be talked down.
Right.
That was unbelievable to me.
Okay, we'll talk about. He is in our list of characters to talk about, but I just feel they didn't do enough with Celsia again. That was my big complaint about part one. That she was.
I'd agree with that.
She's supposed to be generic anime character, and I kind of was hoping in this arc or this part of the anime was when they'd really take off with her. The only thing I really liked about her was her relationship with Matsubaru, her creator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I kind of agree with you guys. Magane, I have some thoughts on Magane, some theories on Magane, but I think we should wait till we get to her scene.
I almost think we should wait. Let's talk a little bit about her at the scene. But I almost think we should talk about it at the end. Like just kind of go.
Oh, I'm sure we'll talk about Magane at the end quite a bit.
All right, so we'll get into the story proper now. We pick up where we left off, and they are beginning their plan of trying to take on Altair and trap her in this. They keep calling it the birdcage, which is basically a simulated reality where the powers can go full bore without breaking real reality. They need Meteor's magic to be able to create that, and they have to get the publishers and the editors all on board. So Aki, who's that government official, is talking to them, and the event is called the Border World Coliseum, and they push this out to the public, and the public is excited for it. And they're going to have all these animes come together, and they're going to fill an arena and show it live in real time. Guys, when they did show it live, did anyone get confused? What I mean by that is, so they have the satellite imagery, right? They have the cameras in the area, and it's fuzzy, and they go, okay, we're switching to the filter. And they hit the thing, and it becomes HD. And I was like, oh, they made it in HD, so the audience will think it's a movie. And then I was like, is none of the audience freaking out that this is live action graphics that are so good? And then I realized, oh no, they turned it into an anime. I just can't tell because it was already an anime for me.
That's really good. Oh my god, I
missed
that.
Yeah, I completely missed that.
They said they put it on a Switch and said conversion. The whole time I'm like, man, if I was in that audience and seeing these graphics and live act, like all these characters are live action now, and I'm like, why is the audience not freaking out about this? And it wasn't until after I finished the anime I was like, oh, the converter was to make it look like anime, but I can't tell.
Yes,
it just went from fuzzy to clear.
That's really good. Huh. My interpretation of the converter was entirely because of it taking place in a different dimension, like this pocket universe. Yeah, and so they were using magic now to make this video feed. I didn't even click in my head that it was because the people there, even though they look like anime to us, are actually supposed to be real people. And so it should be strange to them to see real people turn into anime all of a sudden. Yeah, that's good.
And then basically in this anime is these creators coming together to try to make one plot, and all their different, they keep calling it their worldviews are so different. Basically, I do serious anime. Well, I do lighthearted anime. That will never fit in my storyline. Your work is crap. And they argue and they argue. I really liked Marine, the artist for Celsia, and Blitz, his creator, and how Marine's like, oh man, she's such a good artist. She just picks up and draws and draws and draws. And then later we find out I saw Maureen as such a good artist. I just had to draw and try to prove myself because I kept going back to Blitz's creator and showing her like just drawing feverishly, and everyone's like, "Oh, she's so dedicated."
Yeah.
I thought that was actually, I mean, this is a common theme throughout the entire anime is, do you continue to work on something that you have a passion for and that you love, or do you let other people's criticism bring you down or your own self-doubts? I mean, we see it with the main character, Soda. We see it with Maureen. We see it with even the writers. The way that they're complaining about each other's work, it's most of it has to do with they don't think they measure up in some way or another. So, I thought it was really nice because there was this sense that these people are real and they all have something that they're trying to step over a hurdle. It wasn't that this massive world-ending conflict was eclipsing everything else. And, these characters were just cardboard props, but they actually had little minor struggles that mattered for them and could have really been enough to trip up the whole thing.
What was nice is that I didn't really been able to like solidify this thought until you just said that even though we've got this massive battle that they're preparing for and the writers are feverishly doing their stuff, the world building that the end of this anime did gave a decent sense that day-to-day life still had to go on. Like, this is the real world. Like, we still have our other jobs and, other people are depending on us and we have our families and like that stuff still mattered. And I really appreciated that about it. It's like, yes, we got this thing we got to take care of to save the world, but also day-to-day life needs to keep going.
It also felt a little inside baseball when they were like talking about deadlines and being like, yeah, the end of the world is one thing, but missing a deadline is the worst. Knowing that behind writing this is anime creators on a deadline. And there's a couple of scenes of that especially in this part 2 where when they're talking about the creation and mixing all this stuff where it felt a little insider baseball, and I just imagine the creators smiling at themselves, knowing like no one understands this but us.
Yeah, I like that. I like a little bit of serving of that in a show.
Yeah. Cool. At the end of the episode, Soda comes up and asks like, "Hey, I want to help. What can I do?" And he's like, "I have this idea for a character I want to create." And they're like, "That's kind of a weird character, but you can go ahead." Now, their reaction was a little, I didn't feel it quite fit the character he decided to create. They're like, they said something like, "That's a funny character," and instead of being like, "Whoa, that's dark, that's deep, man."
Yeah. I mean, she did use the word weird when she was trying to argue for him doing it, and yeah, he could have. Since it was it Matsubara? Is that?
Yeah.
Matsubara was the one who was like, I don't think that's a good idea. But yeah, he certainly didn't give any impression that it was who it was.
Right.
So yeah.
And I actually was watching the expressions really closely because I had a guess of who it was going to be, and I was like, well, maybe not, because I think they would react a little differently if he said the name. And then at the very end of the episode, more creations are showing up, and Celsia and Rui, the mech driver, find one of the characters, and we meet her in the next episode. Her name is Hayaku, and she is from a dating sim with adult overtones.
I think one of them said, "Isn't that an adult game?" So did you take that as like adult overtones, or did you take that as like X?
So I took it as Face Day Night, which was a X game.
That's what I
and then had the X removed because it was so popular. And so it was also, Face Day Night has also become popular on its own without the X attached to it. But anyone who knows its origin knows it comes from an X place. And so everyone in here is like, oh, yeah, we've seen that scene. And this poor character is just dying from it.
I love her special power that she's labeled with.
So great.
Oh, yeah.
She can seduce men with her panties.
when we talked about this last time, we mentioned like a slice of life character can't get in here. So I was very excited that dating someone or a romance anime or something like that got into the story. The only thing is, I actually wish this character had some more screen time and some more development, because other than the joke, we don't get a whole lot of time with her, except for her just being embarrassed of who she is. And she actually did seem like an interesting character. And I would have liked to have seen her dealing with the fact that someone created her for adult entertainment compared to everyone else. Every character's been dealing with, I was created for entertainment. All my pain, all my suffering is for enjoyment. Your body wasn't made for this.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Other than her being embarrassed and being hysterical, we didn't get much emotional scenes with it. I would have actually really liked to have seen that, but again, there's just not really time for that kind of thing in this part.
I do have there were a couple of characters that brought up new perspectives to me in the depth of some of these personalities. I mean, later there's a character that's brought in that has no personality whatsoever.
Right.
And they say that the reason was because they didn't make enough backstory for the character. They didn't immerse her and have, create her so that everybody could get a sense.
Right? Due to time constraints.
Exactly. And so when we look at the other characters that we have already as a part of the cast, all of them are kind of the passion of their creator. Alciteria, Celestia, we don't know much about Meteora, but all of these other ones, they've gotten so much time and attention and love to create them as these interesting characters. And I kind of wonder that with her creator, I wonder if he really cared as much about making a really in-depth personality, or if she was a little bit shallower of a character. I mean, it is kind of a stereotype to think that, but it occurred to me that that's not really what he designed her for.
Maybe. The only thing I would say against that is that a lot of the female people in this anime were into her anime as well, which tells me that there's probably some more substance to her than just the adult part, because they were into her relationship. Like, they really bought into her romance, and that doesn't mean that doesn't fully go against, she could still be shallow and they just really liked the romance. But yeah, a couple of the female characters admit that they've also seen her game or her anime, whichever she came from.
Yeah.
Alice's creator shows up, and what's really interesting is when he shows up, he picks up Tokyo Babylon, Blitz's manga, and reads and sees the part where Blitz is forced to shoot his daughter because she's tied to some doomsday machine, and he has to kill his daughter, which gives the backstory of why this guy is like, yeah, let's kill the creators and this world. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Which goes his development, like Jason said, was in Blitz's gang. He meets one of their new creations, who is Sho, who is the rival to Yuya, the star of his game, because they come from a game as well. And you find out, like, they're like, hey, are you sure you agree with us? He's like, I don't care. Yuya's on the other side. I'm on this side.
Yeah.
He killed my sister. He killed one of my best friends. I'm going to get him. This is, we had said before, like, I got a Pokemon Red and Blue. Now I was getting a Naruto Sasuke vibe off of them. Yeah, it's not quite right, for sure, but that's what I got, like the outcast friend who betrayed me, and now I've sworn vengeance kind of thing.
I almost got a Cloud Sephiroth thing.
I could see that too.
Yeah,
for sure. But what did you guys think of Sho in general? Again, not a ton of character time. He's really more of a Yuya character builder.
He was a near clone of Yuya, just like more stalwart that had gone dark. I guess that's the way to describe it.
I thought there was one thing that made everything okay with him, and that was that he is a player character. And when you play a game, you as the player get to embody the characters. They're not given very much personality. They're usually given, that blank slate for you to write your own story with. And so seeing him from that light, I was thinking, this guy's just bullheaded. He's got to rush into this, take the most obvious possible solution because there's no player making a decision for him. And so he wasn't designed to be smart enough to think of a solution himself. And so I don't know if they intended to really play on that idea very much, but I was keeping it in the back of my mind, and I loved the way that he reacted to the situation and the way that he played off of Yuya because of that. I kept seeing like a player character without a player. He's really dumb.
Huh. Well, we lost you for a second there, but I think we got it.
You got the gist.
Yeah. So because like I said, I had the Naruto Sasuke thing in my mind. I very much saw him as a shonen protagonist. Yours actually makes more sense because that is actually what he is. He was a player character, but I kept seeing him as Naruto, who's like, I'm gonna smash my way forward and determination, and I've decided who I'm fighting, and that's all that matters. And so he was kind of simple, but he fit into that shonen anime simple that you usually want.
I liked his curse, Bayard.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
His power was very cool.
Yeah, very similar to Yuya's. I just loved how if it was a reflective surface, he could come from it. And that was creepy. Is the best way to put it.
And I loved how they used it. Like when the glass was shattering down and suddenly all the swords start popping out of the glass and he's using that as a ladder to jump up. But they did some really cool things with that power.
Yeah.
And then, so like I said, we meet Alice's creator. His name is Guy. I never got this guy's name, and it turns out he's just Guy. So
He's just a guy.
even though his voice actor deserves an award for a scene coming up, but we'll talk about that in a second. And we also meet Hayaku's creator, who's Onishi, who I have a picture of in the video of our podcast until it disappears because Google Hangouts hates me. I really like this character. The only thing I want to say about him is that when everyone else is wondering how to make the audience like their characters, this guy is like, I know how, and it's called boobs. And it works. And it was just like, oh, okay, that tracks.
He was too anime tropey and unbelievable for me, and I didn't like him.
He's definitely a creep. Actually, to be fair, I didn't like his character until that moment where he's sitting there smugly as his character gets audience acceptance like everyone else, but all he had to do was put a skimpy outfit on it.
Yeah.
I just liked what that said about anime viewers and anime in general and how much we talk about tropes, and
I would agree with that.
I like that joke so much. It made his character worth all the annoying, typical, I want to grab the girl.
Yeah.
I thought it was, even though it was tropey, I thought it was well placed simply because it would, it fits so well for what you would expect from that kind of personality to come up with that idea of a character for those kinds of games, right? Mm-hmm. It was like they were saying it's on the nose. I love that. That was
mm-hmm. Yeah, and coming from people who are making a serious anime, I do kind of wonder if they're a little bit jabbing at, someone who makes something like Kaijo. Right. Just being like, what, why don't you put some effort in it? Why, This is how we see you.
At least improve the art.
Another big scene that happens is Alice goes to Megane, and talk about fan service. Megane is taking a bath in a pile of money. She comes out and she's like, that's actually not that fun. And is hanging around her towel. And Alice shows up and she's like, I want your help. And the guy's like, ooh, Alice came for my help. The person who hates me. What do you want? I just want you to have fun. What do you guys think of that?
I actually really like this scene. And not for the fan service. I liked how, you've got this person that not only has just got done battling this perceived evil due to her belief system and her stalwartness, but now she's asking her to just get involved to mess things up on purpose. And you could, again, the animators did a great job. You could almost see Alice's skin crawling as she's interacting with Megane. because she's like, I just want to stab her. But I need her help.
Mhm.
And of course, Magane's performance was amazing. Her voice actress did amazing as well.
Yeah. I loved how Magane was constantly trying to bait her, too. She was still trying to bait her into some kind of trick. It was nice to see Alicetaria actually learn from observations a little bit here and be able to say, I've said my piece, I'm not saying anything else, and just turn and walk away. And to me, that was actually a bit of character development for Alicetaria.
Okay. Now, clarification from the last episode, they explain her power a little bit better. You have to lie to her twice for her power to activate. That's how it worked. Because we had talked about it, like, was it just baiting under her questions? But that is why she throws out the questions. She's trying to get you to lie 2 times. If you lie to her 2 times, she can reverse cause and effect.
And it sounds like, the 2 lies, they can't just be about 2 different things. It has to be a lie, and then you have to lie about that lie.
Correct.
And so I can see the complexity there. It's actually an amazing feat if she's able to manipulate you to do that. That is incredible.
It made it a little
it's very hard to follow.
That's why she mentioned in her opening scene with the bookstore keeper how difficult it was to cast her spell normally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Well, the next episode is the Hot Springs episode.
Talk about fan service.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
And a little bit of a calm before the storm, too, for sure.
Yeah.
There was almost more male fan service in this one.
And that's where they kind of fourth wall broke a little bit, because they were like, "Yeah, look at us."
Yeah.
Yuya's scene of climbing into the thing, and they straight up and I'm like, I guess I did make him pretty good looking. And Yuya looking at everyone else like, you guys should work out or something.
I know. And like the overweight guy that does the Gundam show.
Yeah.
It was so funny because he's like, I hate him. And it's the same thing you see with like the boob envy that takes place on the other side of the sauna with the Babel Tower Code, whatever, Code Babylon.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing going on there. It was funny to see that it's the same situation on both sides.
But basically, they all come together. There's some funny scenes. The director, Aki, gets drunk, even though she's like, I will not drink. I'm a manager. I have to be very efficient. And she's actually throwing him back without realizing she's drunk. And then she scolds everyone. Oh, I have to work so hard.
And she passes out.
Yep.
We do learn from this scene that Meteora's magic has now been enhanced so much from these spin-off stories that they've been putting out to the audience that her magic can now affect the world. If you remember back in the first episodes when she was like, oh, I'll use my restoration magic to clean the room and find out, oh, my magic doesn't do jack to this world. They've now powered her up so much that she can now magically affect our world. Which is going to be important for the final battle.
Now, she's not the only one that got powered up, too.
Right. Everyone's received power up, but she's the reason that's important is because she is literally the catalyst for making everything work. Especially about the birdcage, because it's up to her to make the birdcage. And they had to power up enough for that. And
the portrayal was so well done. So well done. Like just the art style. Her like summoning like this machine thing with like a machine and magic, like a combo. Yeah, just very well.
The meter that reads audience approval.
Right.
That was awesome.
But I love that, like, even though she was powered up so much, it was still none of it was offensive.
Yes. Yeah, it was all manipulative behind the scenes stuff. Right. It was really cool.
So after the festival begins. Crowds start pouring into the arena. Everyone's excited. They get into place. They create the bird cage, which again that looks the same as it's basically downtown. But if you fight in this area, you can't break reality because we've made another reality on top of it. It doesn't look any different. And what's interesting is they keep mentioning the battle is for audience approval. Whoever the audience likes more is going to win.
Yeah, that may not have been a good decision on their part.
Right, which is really interesting because it wasn't just about we have to get our powers to beat her logically. It was like we literally have to be the better characters.
See, and that's the thing. Like, think about it. How often have we praised villains as opposed to the heroes? I mean, we're guilty of it ourselves, where we're like, they did a better job making an interesting villain. And so, yeah, this has every opportunity to go south.
Another thing, they summon Vogel Chevalizer Celestia's mech, which was really funny to see it next to the Gigas mech because it's like up to its waist.
Right.
Yeah, it's so tiny. Yep.
But her mech is magic, while his is all technological except for some enhancements by Meteora. Whereas the Vogel Chalive, whatever, Celestia's mech is a magical mech.
Yeah.
What's really funny, though, is Rui wanted to drive it. Let me drive it. It's not the same, kid. You can't just get in my mech and drive.
You wouldn't be able to. Yep.
And then Altair, who is aware of this plan. She had some new power as she showed off to Blitz earlier that she was like, yeah, this is their plan. I can totally see what they're doing.
Yep.
Blitz is like, oh, good for us.
Glad I'm on this side.
And she figured out that the internet was basically giving her unlimited power.
Yeah.
And I did kind of think that was one of the issues I had that made it a little bit unsatisfying. But we'll talk about it more when we get to Altair's resolution.
Okay. Then, so episode 17 is basically the battle starts. First, Altair and Alice show up. They start fighting against Gigas and Celsius mech. Yuya shows up. He starts getting involved, and he's powered up. He now can shoot ice, even though he lost his spirit. But he can shoot ice blast out of his sword. So that's his new power up. And then I love the scene where Alice flies up to Gigas, and after like hitting him a couple times and beating him up, and he's like, "Hey kid, you gonna be ready?"
That was awesome.
Because they know Alice went to Magane. They know she's turned on Altair. The creator came was like, she freed me, and she's on our side, guys. And so they're think
they know that she went to Magane, but yeah, they know that because I think the only thing that they know is that the creator is saying, no, she's on our side. She's on our side.
I thought he said that, but I might be wrong. I'm sorry. I didn't write it down, so I have no proof. So I think you must be right.
We'll err on the side of caution, but yeah, well, I don't know.
To be fair, your memory is usually better than mine, which is why I write things down. So if it's not written down, I'm going to trust you over me.
Okay. And now the spotlight's on me. I don't know, but I don't think she did.
Okay. And then Magane finds Sota in the arena where he's watching from the stands in this little area by himself, and she starts talking to him. This was really good stuff. Their interactions, and they come back to it a couple times, but she basically just starts chatting him up.
I wanted more, and I guess I wanted darker.
You wanted her to put him in that headlock again.
No, I wanted unfortunately, this scene and a couple more scenes later involving Magane confirmed Jeremy's suspicion that kind of upset me because I was hoping it wouldn't be true from the first season, is that she is Deus Ex Machina. And that's exactly what they used her for. And a little too blatantly is why I was disappointed about it. I was really hoping there was going to be more mischief. I was really hoping there was going to be more deception and manipulation. And what we ended up getting was Magane reaching on the verge of a good guy.
Yeah.
And it was unsatisfying for me.
I was going to say that I kept thinking the whole time that she was talking about Fool's Gold and how she gets so happy and excited to see people fight and argue over Fool's Gold, or to look at her and compliment her because they think it's real gold, but then it's Fool's Gold, so haha, the joke's on you. I kept thinking that this was in some way connected to her giving them false hope, to her giving them a solution that isn't really going to work. And I was hoping that that's where they were going, where, when that Deus Ex Machina moment occurred, that to find out that no, this was all really just a trick so that Magana could get on top and somehow get in the lead, and she personally benefited from this in some other way than just simply the face value of hugging Soda and saying, you know, I like people because without people I couldn't play my games. You know.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell the whole through line of what happens here, even though it's cut in between the rest of the story.
Sure.
And then I want to comment on it with you. She basically comes up to him, gets him to lie twice to her about his creations. She's comparing himself to her. She's like, "You're a monster too." He's like, "Yeah, sure. I don't care." But eventually she gets him to lie twice about his creation, and she uses her power to make it so his creation, that character he wanted to make, does not need audience approval to exist in the world, which breaks the rule of every other character and, you know, how all these other guys are working. His can exist without audience approval. And then she mentions the fool's gold, and she gives him a fool's gold necklace, and she also gives Yuya back his spirit. So that's everything that's going to happen
Temporarily, she made clear.
I actually like this turn. I actually thought that she was going to be more of a darker villain. I do agree that it ended up being her role was just there to make it so they could save the day, for sure. But as I wondered why she did this, and I started wondering if she's deeper than she was, if killing her creator had an effect on her character description and has changed who she was, and if she's not the psycho villain that she started as, because everyone's been talking about how these characters are evolving now that they're in the real world and interacting with it, and I'm wondering if that same goes for her, and if she actually had feelings for Sota in any way, or if this was all like she claimed, I'm just doing this for fun, but everything she says is a lie.
Right.
And I think if she hadn't have been introduced so strong with a vicious murder of a bookstore keeper, I think I could have bought into this a little more, even killing her creator, because that's kind of been her toolbox of where she comes from. She's a dark character, but just the vicious darkness of the first half of the anime, this didn't fit with who she was presented as, because, you know, bookstore keeper dead, her creator dead, she eats Magane's blood, lies about her killer.
Mamika's blood.
Yeah, Mamika's. And it's just you've got this darkness, this box of darkness that she laughs and is giddy about, and then you've got her going, "Yeah, why don't we just help you save the world?" I don't know.
Yeah. Also, in her story, we learned in the summary that she's responsible for killing the entire student body of her school. That's part of her backstory as a villain. And so, yeah, you could be right about the normalization of characters. It's possible, but it seemed like she was normalizing much faster.
So the two things that stand out to me was, one, Yuya's change. I think he's the biggest change, because he went from a selfish, I'm in this for myself and I'm just doing this for me, to I'm part of the team, I'm saving people, I save people all the time character. And people commenting like, "You're not the same as you were." He's like, "Yeah, that's true." And he may be noticing like, "I'm not the same. I am evolving here." And then there's this scene back in that bathtub with the cash. Magane is bored and she's not killing people to entertain herself. She's literally like, "I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what I'm anymore. I just saw her and really until Alice shows up and is like, "Hey, come back into the game we're playing, come back into this battle," she's kind of floundering. And she's in her own apartment, she's rich, she's basically winning what she wanted to do. I'm becoming the emperor of the world in her own right. I don't know how she got rich. She could have stolen people.
6 months and she's like conned her way into, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But I just kind of saw her as that evil thing wasn't working for me anymore for some reason. And I think it's Soda. I think her interactions with Soda actually was changing her without her realizing it. But again, we had a huge time skip where a lot of these characters had arcs off screen. Alice did it. So
Maybe that's the problem.
We don't really know what happened to her.
I think if there were 2 more episodes with one devoted to her arc, I think I probably would have been happier.
Right.
I do have to just throw in there one little detail, and that is that with the characters that had major changes on screen, like Yuya, it was expressed that those changes were due to hidden parts of their backstory that the writers had come up with, but the characters didn't know yet because they hadn't made it to that point in their own story. And so I think that, like, with Yuya, finding out that Yuya wasn't actually responsible for the murders and things like that, that would really change his character. And we don't know when his writer told him that. So, and I'm wondering, it's possible that her writer maybe had some other secret things in there, secret backstory things that could have influenced. But if that was a limitation of why these characters changed, then I don't know if that would have necessarily been enough by itself. I could certainly see her becoming bored gradually, but then it also seems like maybe we're just getting a snapshot of a moment after she's had a large number of successes. So I don't know that she's been bored because it's been 6 months and she's got a tub full of money. She's been busy, not bored.
Maybe, but also she didn't stick around.
Yeah,
I feel like something happened with the character, and I had this theory, but I don't even know if there's enough there to stick to anything. That having a dead creator almost frees your description, because Meteora changes a lot too from just what she was. I feel like she had one of the biggest growths, especially by the time we see her at the end. She becomes what she becomes.
Yes.
But I don't know, and I definitely see your point.
Yeah,
I see your guys' point in the information that was presented. I do think we need an episode of Magane being bored. I interpreted stuff from that Cash bathtub scene that might not even been there. It could have been just too subtle. I don't know.
I would like to see more information. Yeah. Absolutely.
While they're fighting, and Altair is still kicking butt, they realize Blitz isn't there, and he's back at the arena. And he's there to kill all the creators and then wreak havoc on this arena. And the first thing he goes to is his creator. He asks her, "Why did my daughter have to die like that?" She says, "Because it was interesting." He shoots her.
Just without hesitation.
So good.
And then she starts talking to him, and she's like, "You should help us. Because what if your reason for protecting her, or what if you had a reason to save this world?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" And then all these soldiers rush in, and behind them is his daughter.
I love her. I love her response too. Like, "Thanks, guys. I'm already shot, by the way."
Yeah, you guys are late.
You guys are late. Except for they planned on her getting shot.
Yeah.
You do find out she has a bullet.
But in the moment, it was really funny because, like, "Thanks, guys."
Yeah.
The next episode goes right into this. It works. His daughter's back, and he's like, "That can't be my daughter." She's like, "No, Dad, it's me. I remember you shooting me." and I think Jason already mentions this. It might have been pre-show, I'm not sure. But his creator is like, "Yeah, I can't bring her back in your world, but we combine the worlds. And Miora's world, you can do that kind of thing."
Yep.
And man, this tore me apart emotionally because they sell his pain of loss so well, and then being reunited with his dead daughter. I was on the bus and I'm just going, "Oh God, oh God!"
In front of everybody.
Switch scenes, please do something.
Yeah, definitely.
I got choked up so bad.
This scene definitely hit me hard too. Everything about Blitz's motivations, I bought.
Yeah,
he was not in this for good or evil. He was here because they took something away from him, and that's bullcrap. And there's no reason for that to happen. And also, there's another young girl that needs help, so he's on her side. His daughter's back, and now she's gonna die if Altair wins. Okay, I'm switching sides.
Mhm.
Not malice, not personal. It's my daughter's here, and I'm going to do what's right for my daughter. I remember in a debate class once, and I don't remember what the topic was, but I debated for something, and someone asked me, yeah, but would you want that to happen if it would save your child? I'm like, that's not fair. I'd burn the world down to save my child. It doesn't mean it's right, And so I totally get where Blitz is coming from. It's like, this isn't about right or wrong. This is about my daughter. And I love that. I loved it.
Yes, they sold it so well.
Yep.
While Yuya and Sho start their battle and are fighting around, Hyaku joins in, and this is the scene that we had talked about with Onishi, where she's in this skimpy karate outfit. And she suddenly has all these powerful blasts she can do, and it feels like, how'd you get your character accepted? He's like, look at the outfit.
You really have to ask that?
She goes from slice of life to freaking Fist of the North Star.
Yeah.
Yes. Even Yuya and Sho are like, she's strong.
And
there's
her
a moment.
feet
There's
red
a-
the entire time. I love that
yeah.
she's so embarrassed that
She
she's having to do
knows.
this.
There's
Yep.
a moment coming up. I won't give too much away. She kicks a full-size
Yes.
mech
Yes.
to the ground and breaks it with one
Yes.
swift.
For me, her power was directly correlated to the amount of acceptance the audience had given her. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's the way I interpreted it.
Same here.
And it was amazing, because if that is accurate, it means that the acceptance level for her was so high above all the others that it took her from being unable to do anything physically
normal
as in
person.
combat, just being a normal person, to being someone who just eclipses even the uber powered up versions in their mechs of the other cast members. That's how much everybody loves this dating sim girl. It's amazing.
There was an interesting comment Altera makes later when she fights her, where it's like, your powers are too strong, they're not balanced. Like, you don't have any light attacks. You're all
Yeah.
and I took that as her creator has no idea what he's doing when making a fighting character. Like, there's no nuance. It's like, it's all super omega punches.
Yes.
Well, she also makes the point that you've got no staying power with an audience either.
Mhm.
Like, everyone accepts, yeah, this is great, but this isn't really you, and we're gonna want you back as normal. We're not gonna want you to stay this.
And I mean, how long does an audience usually need that character? I mean, if it's an X game, they don't need her very long at a time anyway.
I don't know. Fate's Day Night it's pretty great on its own, and those characters' powers are pretty cool.
Yep.
Well, I mean, at a time. They can
That's
always
true.
come back. But
That's
yeah.
true. Basically, Blitz shows up and he shoots at Sho and is like, "Hey, by the way, I switched sides. Sorry about that." Sho puts up a pretty good fight, but then they manage to knock him down, and that's when Hayaku's like, "Yuya, why don't you just tell him the truth?"
Oh, I love this.
it so
There's
much.
so many good moments in this. So help me out if I miss them. But they tell him, yeah, the guy who gave you your powers, he's the one who killed your best friend and your sister. It wasn't me.
And their creator is devastated.
Yes. Because he's the one that's always saying, I'm on a deadline. I'm on a deadline. He takes everything so seriously. This was just it was great.
Because it's in front of what they said, 180,000 people.
Yeah. The crowd is in awe by this revolution, and the crowd is loving this, by the way, because this is a very Naruto Sasuke relationship. So these characters are loving that they're, even when they were fighting and talking, like, oh, they're interacting. This is what we waited for. And then they drop this major plot spoiler.
And people in the audience are like, oh, that sounds like exactly like something he would write. And people in the audience were saying, that sounds exactly like something he would write. It was great. Loved that.
The other part I loved about this was Yuya being like, I thought when you attacked me, you just wanted to hang out. And Sho's like, we were having death battles. I don't know.
That was so great. Oh yeah,
That actually might have been my favorite scene. I laughed very hard at that
that was
moment.
so good.
I did too.
That was very shonen anime. Like, yeah, we battle for fun, right? Isn't that what we do?
I wanted to murder you.
Yeah. Fun.
But I did like how they like this character had like this like serious cognitive dissonance, and it took a little bit to convince him. I like that he didn't just face value believe him, but then he was just like, this situation, it's kind of hard not to accept what you're saying to me.
Yeah.
Which I didn't agree with.
You
Like,
did
why would you tell me that? To get you to switch sides?
Yeah.
That seems like a really obvious reason to tell you that. Why are you not thinking of that? I mean, it's the truth. We know that, so I'm okay that he bought it. But he kept asking, I guess you would have no reason to lie. But there's a huge reason to lie right
I
now.
do agree with that statement. Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, they were in a position where he was beaten, and if they wanted to, they could have just
That is
killed
true.
him.
Finished him
So
off. That's a good point.
yeah. So no, they did have a really great reason to lie, but
Yeah. But they didn't have to. They could have just killed him.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff I'm skipping over combat wise. Celsia is fighting Altera and doing all these powerful magic attacks that Meteora gave her. I would just recommend watching them. It's very cool visuals. They've put a lot of money into this battle. This is really good anime to watch. They're doing dimensional traps. Yeah, and the mechs are flying around battling. But I'm skipping over them because other than saying, hey guys, it was really cool. They did really cool stuff. Altera jumps into the mech because she can. It doesn't really have a whole lot of substance. So I would recommend seeing it, and it does fill out a lot of the time in this anime. But no, I am kind of skipping over some of the more dazzling effects.
I think the one piece of nuance that we might miss by just kind of blazing over it is in the first half of the season, we got this sense that we have this really powerful villain that we need to take down. The way we're going to do that is trap her in a dimensional pocket. We're going to power up all of our characters, and we're going to beat her. And it became very apparent fairly quickly that even with their power-ups, even with them trapping her in there, it started to feel like she's not trapped in there with you. You're trapped in there with her.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yep.
Yeah. Very much so. And at the end of this episode, she pulls her trump card, which is Celsia's main character from her anime. She's actually the side character, the secondary character. The main character is there in his mech. His name is Charon.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that she was a side character, or at least a secondary character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember in the first season they said something about her being the weaker one, and she's always trying to catch up to the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What did you guys think of him?
A little disappointed. And I think, I'm not sure where I mentioned it. I think it might have been in the pre-show, but there's this, you've got these two characters that supposedly have this really long, deep relationship through battle, thick and thin. And all of a sudden, the person that he supposedly would have trusted more than anyone else in multiple universes cannot talk him down. And I felt that was a little disingenuous. Felt too plot heavy.
There was one line of dialogue they threw in to explain it. And that is Matsubaru, their creator, saying he's at a point in the anime where the hero's having his doubts. He's tired of the battles and he's ready to quit. And because he's the hero, he's going to get through them. He's going to find his reason for fighting and go on. But where they pulled him out of the anime is his state of mind is weaker than it should be. And that's why he's kind of given up and sided with the villain. I do still agree with Jason. Like, hey, this lady I've battled with forever is telling me I'm on the wrong side, and I refuse to listen. I'm being very stubborn. But that was how they explained it, is that I didn't buy it. He's from a moment in the anime where he's weak, but I still think I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I agree completely as well. I didn't like it. However, I have an additional counter argument to make. It doesn't change my mind, but it is interesting to consider. And that is that we learned in the first season that there was another character that was a close friend of her and Sharon's. And this character betrayed them and killed somebody. And if we're to assume that he comes from this most current point in the timeline of his own anime, then that's probably after that event took place too. So I'm wondering just how jaded he is. In addition, in every time we see any flashbacks between the two of them or hear any information about their relationship, she is always the weaker one that's following him. And he's always in this position of, well, if you can't handle it or you don't know what to do and how to make a good decision, just follow me. If you're not strong enough, I'll lead you to the right place. So I think he's the kind of guy, maybe he was just painted that way by Matsubara, but I think he's the kind of guy that, doesn't think that she necessarily knows the right way to go if she's always followed him.
I like your second point. The first one, it could be that when they drop that spoiler to Celsia about, hey, by the way, that person's going to betray you and this person's going to die. And she's like, wait, what? They did say that was from the manga and the anime wasn't there yet. Now, that doesn't mean her anime hasn't reached that point. That's true. While she's in the real world. But yeah, they specifically called out that this is the anime character. You're talking about what's happened to the manga character, which is ahead in the storyline.
Okay, I did like the point of that he's headstrong and expects her to fall in line with him. I did like that point. I don't think it sways my opinion, but it definitely does raise an interesting point.
Yeah.
So basically, him and the Gigas Rui start battling while Celsia kind of stands to the side and is like, "Hey, you should not do that. Please stop."
She keeps getting in the way every time the Gigas is going to do something. Too. And she's saving Charon, and then every now and then Charon manages to get a blow in and do damage to the Gigas machine. And I'm like, why didn't you save the Gigas machine that time? You're terrible.
I didn't realize it would make what's his face bleed.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Because they took the arm off and he starts bleeding. It's very much like a Neuralink thing. But I was when he started bleeding, I was like, you guys made the suit a little too realistic. Maybe not do that. That seems like a design flaw. Hey, if my mech gets destroyed, my sleeve will literally pulverize me.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering if that's the case, then when he got the arm chopped off, why was his other arm okay?
Well, it hurt.
Yeah, he felt the pain of it, but it didn't.
Didn't use it because he still, when he had the broken fingers, he still was using that hand, and I assumed that was because the arm that got cut off was just not usable for him.
But if the other hand actually bled from interacting with the blade,
I don't know.
Why would the arm that got cut off by interacting?
Why would you design
a
mech suit outfit to hurt you along with your mech? That's a horrible design choice.
I see it as like it would make an interesting story if that was a limitation of the design. Like there is no other way to do it and have that kind of control over the mech. But they didn't stick the landing.
Second trailer dropped recently. Looks great. Okay, sorry.
But they didn't sell it. No.
Yeah. So the next thing that happens is Alice makes her big attack on Altair, charges up full power, and she actually scores a hit, stabs Altair right in the chest. Altair uses a new ability she has gained to reverse cause and effect, just like Megane. And
felt it was cheap.
That's the part, like if that's what you feel is cheap, I agree with you 100%. I hated that she used the same words. I hated that it was the same exact response that Megane had. Mm-hmm. I hated that.
That's Megane's power. Why? Like,
how did she get it?
Who on the internet is giving her that power?
Could it just be someone who's a Megane fan? And I was like, well, wouldn't it be cool if Altair had Megane's power? Let me draw a fanfic.
I don't buy it. I mean, sure, maybe, but as far as storytelling and the way the story was going, this felt cheap. I would have rather her blocked the blow and just
run her through with some of her swords.
Yeah, and then killed her. Like for some reason, she was able to grab the spear and like break it, and then four swords pierce her. I would have been much happier with that. Because it felt.
But like Jeremy had said earlier, I think in the pre-show, it does make the next part better because even though, hey, our wounds are reversed, whatever happens to you happens to me, and now that I've stabbed you, I've stabbed myself. Mm-hmm. Alice still does what Alice does, and she charges up her gauntlet and full on punches her and instantly kills herself.
Yeah, see,
which fits
redeeming quality. Mm-hmm. Because that really horrible move that they did to steal Magane's ability facilitated this. And for me, it was so perfect. It was as simple as the young adult anime novellas and stuff that I've at least seen and read little bits of. They have that simplicity, that message of just keep going, keep moving forward, don't give up, have your willpower, keep pressing forward, use your strength. And this is where it will really get you. If you meet an immovable force or an immovable, let's see, how does that go? Something immovable force meets immovable wall. I should know this.
It's an immovable force versus I don't know. God, now I can't
unstoppable object.
Unstoppable, something like that.
Unstoppable object meets an immovable bear. I don't know.
Fool me twice, can't get fooled again.
So I got excited at the scene. I guess I never even bothered to question it. It's not that you're wrong. I was fine with it because I was excited for you, Jason, because you had literally said last time that Magane, you thought that was going to happen. Like, hey, if she attacked Magane, it was going to go right into her own stomach. And I was like, I don't think that would happen. And then it really happened. I'm like, oh, Jason is a wise sage, and I should listen to him.
Yep. Yeah.
It was almost like, hey, we can't give you the Alice Magane fight you want, but we can kind of tweak this story to give you a taste of what it would have looked like, and Alice would have lost.
Yeah.
Then after that, Celsia is brought to her senses to help. She battles Charon. They battle each other, and then she admits she likes him. And then he's like, okay, but I'm gonna still go kill you. She lets him attack.
Well, you got to also make clear that he's constantly saying, "Oh, I can't believe I never thought I'd have to go through you to do the right thing to save the world. I never thought you'd be the last obstacle." But there is an inner struggle. It's just that
lost
your mic.
There is an inner struggle.
There is an inner struggle. It's just that it's flimsy. It's a flimsy inner struggle.
It's not that it's even flimsy. It's just that it's not pre-developed.
Right.
Yeah. And even her confession of love, I was like, oh, I was kind of wondering if you would like Soda. You haven't mentioned this guy.
She's a little old for Soda, though.
She is. But like, they still spent time together. I didn't ship them, but I didn't not ship them.
I hope you shipped Meteora.
I was actually shipping Soda and Magane. But
of course you were.
Magane's only 15 and he's 16.
I actually like that one too. I actually do think Magane has feelings for Soda. That in my headcanon, that's why she turned.
So do you think that her teeth are actually that sharp, or is that just they are that sharp?
I think she's like either half demon or she filed him down. I don't know.
Maybe she got her dentist to lie to her, and
that's just terrifying. Oh, that's terrifying.
I don't know. You're right. Not only did they not give this enough time, but the whole idea of him not at least considering what she has to say during this engagement. I was trying to buy it off like Alice was sold, that she's this headstrong person that sometimes she just has to fight it out in order to understand it. Charon didn't earn that from the audience. And also we got to see the inner conflict with Alice and watch her flip.
Right. I bought into Alice's and Momika's relationship way more than Charon and Celsia's.
Yeah.
So when Alice dies, angry because Momika's name has been brought up, I'm like, oh, she went down, fighting for the person she cared about. Charon and Celsia, I'm like, you haven't mentioned him once. You haven't been like, man, I really miss that guy I traveled with these 6 months I've been on the human world.
I think she may have mentioned him once or twice in the first season, but yeah, nothing here.
And
except
never
like, he's here.
Yeah.
Anyway, then through Gigas, I think Gigas makes a shield so that she can self-destruct. Was that what? Or did Gigas make a shield that destroyed them both? Hard to tell who was blowing up.
So he made a shield that would amplify, like it would push back, repulse any kind of force that was coming outward. So as she was exploding, it would crush him, basically.
So yeah, but she does sacrifice herself. This felt very Game of Thronesy that you're willing. Again, I saw Celsia as the main character of Recreators, so to have her sacrifice with 3 episodes left, I thought was brave. I was like, oh, good for you. Well, despite all my complaints going into this, at least now I'm like, no character is safe. You just let Celsia die. All cards are on the table now. Anyone could go. I like that.
I agree.
I did like her reminder to her creator that you promised to bring my world coffee and stories.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Then the final battle continues. They try to rally on against Altair, and Meteor realizes that Altair has now taken control of this story. Basically, the audience is siding with her, and she's getting stronger, and she is controlling the birdcage more than she should be able to. Right. So they call in their ace in the hole, and it's a copy of Meteor, or not a copy of Meteor, a copy of Altair. Basically,
this was cool.
They just made a character who's exactly her. Has all her powers.
Didn't they?
Oh no!
They brought in Altair's
origin.
Yeah, the origin character, because Altair's a spin-off of another anime.
If she is the origin character that already has a background, why was she devoid of personality? I thought they didn't have time to give her a personality.
The anime was a flop.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Jeremy?
What'd you say, Jeremy?
I was saying that was something that bothered me too, but I didn't realize the anime was a flop, Jason.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons that Altair took off and her character didn't do well, is because no one liked the anime, and it didn't get a lot. I think it only got like 1 season, so there wasn't a lot to her character.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Or at least I could be wrong, but that's what I thought they explained.
Huh. I thought they just made a copy and named it this, but I guess
episode. If you go back and watch like episodes 10 through 12, when Soda's like talking about
when she made her, yeah.
Yeah,
you know, who she was based off of.
Yeah, who she was based off of is this character.
Huh.
Yeah.
But so either way, she is all Altair's powers, but she has no personality of her own. She can't even talk.
She's a perfect killing machine. She's like a Terminator.
Right. And she starts winning. But she even deletes Altair, but Altair comes back. So she does what she's programmed to do, and she possesses her, basically.
Now, I saw this coming. The moment that she deleted Altair and then got up off the ground, I was like...
We had 2 episodes left. There's no way they won.
Yeah. Well, no, what I saw coming was the fact that she has no personality, allowing Altair to have a way to get back in. I was like, you guys, you just made it worse. Oh.
So basically they find her on the ground, they cradle her, they're like, hey, are you okay? She gets up and she goes and picks up Altair's hat. And then she puts it on, and she turns into Altair after stabbing Yuya like 6 times. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Poor Yuya.
Again, that's I really liked Yuya's character, so watching him get run through, and we just lost Celsia. There's no guarantee he's surviving now. And the last character we saw get run through did not make it. So I'm like, no, not my Yuya.
No, yeah.
That's a weird sentence.
That is.
I think what I appreciated about the story from this point on, it reminded me of Injustice, where if you have a Superman type character that has complete control and is going on a rampage, and how do you stop it? How do you bring resolution to this? And I think at this moment, everyone was out of ideas. That we don't know what to do. In fact, some of the characters were talking as if they were giving up. Like this is it.
Yeah, there was a fascinating. I never expected it to come from her, but from the dating sim girl, you know, she had this profound realization that they're not the heroes in the audience view. in the audience view, Altair is the hero and has slowly been overcoming the villains.
Yeah.
And that I never expected it to come from her.
So
and actually, I didn't really notice that until she said it either. I was like, oh, she's
same
right.
here. Same here. Do we know why when she jumped at her that final time and then lost all her powers? Why did she just lose all her powers? Did she just lose all her powers just because Altair wanted her to, or because
Altair controls the story now?
Okay.
Altair controls the reality of this birdcage.
So every time
is given it to her.
Well, so every time that Altair uses an ability, she calls out the number of some kind of sonnet or ballad or something that she's supposed to be playing. And each one has a unique ability. And since there's basically infinite numbers of them because fans keep making more and more, one of them has the ability to remove any of the added abilities that aren't in the original character. And so that is what she used on her that took her back to being the slice of life character. And I actually have an issue with the entire premise that Altair gains all these abilities from fan art. Because honestly, when fan art is made, what is it that defines that it's the same character?
Well, and also she doesn't have a story at all.
Right. Yeah. But if you...
I agree. And I following where you're
see
going.
What I'm saying? Yeah.
I'm following where you're going. But what I like about this character is specifically because she's the first one that materialized, is that she's special in this way. And that she doesn't need the audience acceptance to not only materialize, but be able to consume these powers.
I enjoy it from a theme point of view. I don't know if it's the logical way of how it should work, but the theme of you can have the most powerful anime character in the world, but the power of creation and stuff comes from the audience. And so what's more powerful than Goku? The audience's approval of Goku. Or my Sonic the Hedgehog fanfic that I wrote. And that's where it's coming from. It's what's more powerful than what the best animator can think of, what the fans can think of. You know, what the crowds, the people, that's what the anime is for. And I see that as the theme and why she is a fan fiction character who is overpowered to the max. Why she is basically infinite, because she's YouTube versus regular media. You know, it's full of garbage, but there's also, you know, independent, free thinking things that can do whatever they want because they're not tied down by corporations. You see what I'm...
Yeah, but I have to say that in standard anime, like you pick a character, any one of those characters, I guarantee you Celestia has fan art. I guarantee you Meteora has fan art. And if you want to say that that's not them, that's another character that was created, and so that character would have to materialize with those powers, then how is it that Altair is able to retain the abilities gathered from all fan art?
So I think go ahead.
Is it because her creator committed suicide?
No, I don't think that. I think it's specifically due to the reason that A, she doesn't have a real story. B, her creator did commit suicide, and because of that, something around her suicide caused this character to materialize in the real world. And I think because of that, she is an incarnation of this broken rule set that those same rules that apply to every other character in the story don't apply to her. And that's shown in the final moments that we see her. Is due to her infinite power. And as much as I hate to say it, Mamika was right, and this anime ends up ending with friendship ruling the day.
Oh god.
But also keep in mind, Altair is the rule set. She's the only one that was created on its own, and it came from the despair. They had said she was born from the despair of her creator, mixing with this reaction of hitting this audience, and that she's the only one that was created this way. She created everybody else. Everyone else has to follow her rule set when they come into this world. She is the rule set. She's the only one that was made differently.
But you mean when she brought them into the world, not necessarily like when she created them, because all these worlds supposedly exist,
right? But
created,
she's not. She brought them over, but nothing brought her over. She was literally born from whatever this mix of juju from this event.
Yeah.
And so her rule set for being here is different from everybody else's. They're tied to their animes. She's something different than them.
Because I agree with your point, Jeremy, but I think that's kind of the caveat that I can kind of buy when it comes to her ability to absorb these things that maybe only a couple people have seen, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I guess in the end, the answer is that she's just an enigma. There is no way to explain it. She just is. She was brought over because of something that we can't really explain.
Right.
We can hint at, but
they give the anime BS explanation. Emotions and imagination mixed in a world of internet and love and there she was.
Yeah. See, that's part of where I'm not.
Yeah, that's not your thing.
It's not my thing. Yep.
Actually, Meteora makes that exact same statement. That it's not approval, it's the emotional tie that the audience has that is making this so powerful.
So with nothing else working, Soda comes forward and says, "Hey, can we use my character?" And everyone's like, that's probably a bad idea. They're like, yeah, but what other ideas do we have?
Right. Because everyone's like, world end or bring this in.
Yeah, and Meteora is like, yeah, why wouldn't we at this point? Because if this doesn't work, we did lose, and we should just start getting ready for the world to end around us. Like, say goodbye.
Yeah, let Aquaman try to take him out.
And when but they're like, this won't work. There's not audience approval, and they try to summon her. Hey, Magane's power clicks in, and she's summoned. And not only is this character summoned, but a location is summoned with her. It's a train station, and the character is Setsuna, the girl who committed suicide, Altair's creator. So in our second to last episode is basically Altair and her talking. And
I was so bored.
I know you were.
I don't know. I emotionally connected with these last two episodes.
I got really emotionally invested in it. I also love the fact that the villain won and then chose not to destroy the world.
It almost felt cheap to me because of that.
I think for me, it goes back to that whole evil Superman goes rampant. What do you do?
Bring back Lois Lane.
Right. And then let him go off with Lois Lane and do whatever the crap they want, just somewhere else.
Somewhere else. Yes. Yep.
This anime from the beginning was going to end to his. I said it last episode that this anime is going to end with feelings and lovey-dovey and stuff. I knew this was how this was going to end. I could just feel there's a reason why Soda was tied to the creator, and that he can't draw. Oh, what's he gonna draw? He's gonna draw the person he caused to commit suicide. And
which that got me too. That freaking got me.
Yeah. When she leaves and he's calling out to the screen and saying he wants to apologize. Yeah, I guess it's your taste that will change how you see the scene. I think having a half of a season that was basically one big battle and on an emotional note was a way to go. I don't disagree with it because we did just have 4 episodes of great battles. We didn't need a 5th. And I felt like they've been building up to this ending from the very beginning to earn it. In my thoughts, but it's kind of predictable, and it is kind of the story is literally we made a villain so powerful we can't beat her. She can do whatever we wants. We have to
distract her.
Yeah, we convinced her that there's something else to do, and that's what she did.
So why didn't she still wipe them out? Because this doesn't change the fact that the world caused her creator to commit suicide.
She wants to be with her creator more than anything else. And without her creator, she didn't know him like Soda did.
No, I mean, like, couldn't she say, okay, here's a world for you. You stay there. I'm going to blow this world up and I'll come right back. Or is it just that would wipe out everything?
Exactly. Reality is top reality. You take that out, everything below it dies.
I guess that's true.
There's also the idea that Satsuna kind of revealed that she didn't want her to pull off the world. She's like, hey, that's flattering. Kind of not. I realized I was angry and full of.
I think what I really loved about this interaction is not once in their conversation did she blame her. Did she say that, no, you're in the wrong for doing this? Or that she tried to convince her otherwise. But she said, if this is what you feel you need to do, then, I don't blame you. This is what you need to do. I thought that was a nice change of pace than the normal ending good guy versus bad guy speech of you don't have to be this bad.
Yeah. I also like the visual symbolism of the coat being open. So this whole time she's been this stoic military uniform princess. Everything's buttoned up and we have no idea what's going on. We just know she's angry at the world and she's going to kill it. And that's all we know. And now there's this big emotional scene and she's explaining why she's done this and what's going through her head and how much pain she's felt this entire time. And her coat is open and she's open to the world for the first time.
Yeah, she's exposed.
Now this, see, for me, that was just happenstance because her outfit changed when she became that other character, Sirius. And so that her coat opened at that point. And
story-wise, sure, but from an artist's point of view,
yeah, I see the artistic.
We're seeing a much softer. Yeah. She's much softer looking because her coat's open. She doesn't have that high collar guarding her and stuff. She's open like, to the world and exposed.
But that she was that way when she was still ready to destroy the world and put swords in Yuya's back, though. So like I understand what you're saying, where like it facilitated the presenting of the image
for 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, but her what I'm saying is like the fact that her coat was open, the fact that the collar was down and everything. Yes, it is symbolic of that in that moment, but it's the same situation we had with the facilitating of Alicetaria and how it looked right in that moment, but getting to it didn't feel right. Having Altair use Magane's ability to get there didn't feel right. So for me, it's kind of the same thing.
Didn't feel it was right for her coat to be open?
Well, what I'm saying is it's the same thing in the sense that her coat was open because she became a different character, not because her emotions changed. She merged with that other character and it changed her outfit, and that's what changed her attire, that's what changed her collar, that's what changed her coat. And then in the next scene, that facilitated something that would look artistic and look awesome, but actually the two things didn't have a connection. So in my mind, I see it as the same thing, where it's like it's almost a little bit shallow because of that. Like it frustrates me a little bit. It's like, why couldn't this have been as good as the end result? Why couldn't it have been that good all the way through?
What's a better way? Like she sees her creator and like starts unbuttoning.
Yeah, flings the code open and runs toward her. I don't know, but I'm just saying that like for me, that's where the argument kind of falls short a little bit because it changed with the character and not with the character's personality.
I think it was not foreshadowing, but convenience.
Yeah, I think it was convenience and coincidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it paints a nice picture, though. I see the picture, and I think they were going for that. But that's how it came across to me.
Another thing that really resonated with me was that she immediately saw Setsune as a fraud, a mirror image, and a creation. And she still could not bring herself to murder her.
The whole like, go away, leave it. Go! Don't walk towards me. She's like, "Well, you can destroy me if you want. I can't destroy you." It had similar parallels with Blitz and his daughter because he said the same thing. Like, that's not my real daughter. Why not?
Yeah, don't come closer. I'll hug you.
See, it's amazing to me that this touched you guys because I felt nothing for those characters when Altair and Setsuna were going through this. All I felt was like,
For me, it's what started it all was Soda bawling at the screen, wishing he could say the things he wanted to say to this shadow of a person that he desperately wanted back alive. I'm not sure why, because I don't have anyone in my life that was close to me that I know that might have committed suicide. or anyone that I like long to be alive again. I don't have that similarity, but I guess I have the empathy that I can see where someone would be hurting so bad and how much more painful it might be to then see your creation of this person and then just that desire to then just lay it all out there for them and apologize, because the amount of guilt he feels even in that moment is just horrendous. So that primed it for me. And then her strong, strict desire for death and destruction. And here's the thing that made her feel that way because of the loss of that. And now it's here again. What do I do with this? Like, you can see it in her face as she's pointing a sword at her. Like, what do I do with this situation? Because you're making this so difficult for me just being here, even though I know you're just a copy. And
so I'm on the same page as you. It was rooting against this villain, this stoic, emotionless villain this whole time, who's killed multiple characters I care about, and then and they did such a good job of animating her face. Jason called that out, pointing out the sword, and just the distress she's in, and all this pain that has caused everything that we've watched, just flowing out of her. It hit me like a wave. It was like it was just so much at once, so much emotion comes pouring out of her, and I had the same reaction as the audience that was watching this. It's like I care about this villain now. I feel bad for this villain now, and the fact that they changed my viewpoint on her that fast, because up to this point I was like, oh, I gotta kill her, I gotta beat her, oh, what's gonna happen? And then seeing that pain on her face and being like, oh man, I feel real bad for her. And and the music, I actually noted the music. The music was very powerful in this scene. And that probably had a lot to do with it, because it's not something I relate to on a personal level where I've been there, but I getting swept up by the music, her voice actress, showing the despair, the animation, all together made it a juicy meatball.
I remember that there was a scene where Blitz hugged her, and you got to see the emotion, Altair specifically, and you got to see the emotion that Altair was wearing. At that time, it was baggage. And so I knew that she was a weighed down character, and yet in that state, she was deciding to point her powers and her rage at the world around her and destroy it. And so for me, seeing her united with this fake version of Setsuna, which who knows how long it's going to be realistic enough for her, I see it as a distraction. She's off doing her thing, living life with Setsuna in their world for a time, but she made this decision to use her power to wipe out everything, and I didn't see any change in her viewpoint towards that. The only thing I saw was, I'm now distracted. I have something else to point my attention at and my interest in for the time being. I don't know when she's coming back.
So as a counterpoint, Setsuna, I don't think is going anywhere, because she was created through Magane's spell, because the aliens have no idea who she is.
But she's not the real Setsuna.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why she could never prolongly live in the real world. And Setsuna knew that. And that's why she went to commit suicide again, because she was not only following her shadow of her footsteps, but she knew that the world would not accept her for long. And it showed it when the train station disappeared and came back. So Altair took her to another world. Altair literally pulled her from this dimension and put her in her own. So, I mean...
But we do have to consider the fact that it was Soda that drew her, and Soda poured everything he knew about her into the art. But how much does Soda know about her? How much has
Altair know about her?
Well, she said that Setsuna had poured everything she was into Altair. So Altair should know lots about Setsuna, but that doesn't mean that Altair would be able to create Setsuna or fix what Sato or Sota.
She has infinite powers. If she can make a whole world to sustain her, there's no reason she can't. But
See,
I would say she
guess that's
wouldn't
a
even
big one
know
there.
her as well as Soda would. But
Oh, I think she'd know her better because she poured who she was into her, whereas Soda just saw her from the outside for the little bit of interactions and whatever emails that they passed.
but as pointed out, Altair was made to show to Sota. That was the entire purpose of her creation. So that I would say that the relationship was a lot of what was poured into her.
I don't know. I didn't get that impression. I got the impression that it was everything that Setsuna didn't like and did like about art and about the way people reacted to her, not just limited to Soda.
Does some of your feeling also come from the disconnect of, hey, I have this silver bullet for this thing that was nearly impossible to beat?
Yeah, and it's not really a satisfying silver bullet for me because it didn't change her mind, and it didn't neutralize her. All it did was temporarily distract her.
Because I think she had the same mindset change that Blitz did. That, okay, this thing that I've wanted for so long is finally in front of me. I can't destroy the world now, or else this thing that I've been desiring for so long will die with it.
That hinges on the point I was trying to make, that I don't think that this is, I mean, we know it's not the real Setsuna, and I think that
so does she.
A shallow. So how long will that keep her satisfied and entertained with this character before she goes, you're not the real thing anyways, rawr. You know?
It depends on if she heals.
And I didn't sense healing, I just sensed distraction. But again,
I don't know. Them playing in that pool felt very healing to me as far as like personal development.
I wasn't convinced. Yeah.
That's fair.
But yeah, I mean, they did good with the art. I love the idea that this was something that she needed to see. I don't know. I kind of would have liked to have seen Setsuna vanish and then Altair freak out and blow up somehow or something, you know? I wanted to see some kind of a resolution where Altair had to deal with the consequences of her action and decision and how she used her immense power. But she didn't really get that. She got a reward at the end.
No, she won.
Yeah,
I love
got a reward.
I do love that the villain won. You never get that, and I like that these anime creators were like, the fans win. And that's what it came down to, is what the audience wanted. The audience wanted Altair to win. Altair did win.
I'm very torn on that. Like, part of me just had to change her.
What they did was change her win objective, but she did win.
Yeah. I'm very torn on that.
So like we said, Setsuna goes to commit suicide. Altair threw a massive power from the audience. I liked how they pointed out that her power is boosted incredibly because this train is being recreated almost faster than she can destroy it from hitting her creation of her creator.
What was it? Fate reconstruction or something, or resonance or something like that?
Yeah, I didn't understand anything that was happening, but it was beautiful.
It was gorgeous. The animation was.
It was beautiful art.
Yeah.
She says it like, why did they end up in a pool under a starry sky?
The world she made.
Beautiful. Yeah. But that's not, they went to another world after that.
Yeah. Oh, they're going to just go make as many as they can now.
Saves her. Then we get the big scene with Soda, seeing them on the screen and wanting to say to Setsuna, all everything he feels and how everything he did. But they leave to go to their own world and everything goes back to normal. Matsubaru goes off to cry, and Meteor reminds him that, that Celsia died, the one that came out of the anime died, but as long as you keep creating her story, she'll live on. So don't ever stop. 5,000 episodes of One Piece. Here we go.
Actually, it's funny. You mentioned in our chat when Alice died, her creator left and just wailed.
Oh man, like I said, that guy deserves a award for that scene alone. I've never heard anything like that from an anime. That despair he felt was so poignant in his voice and that wail.
It felt so authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they weren't characters that had a ton of time together. We had a few scenes with them, and just that. I love the whole thing about to these creators, these creations matter so much.
Oh yeah.
And when you create something that's true, they are nearly children. Anyone who works on a creative project, a podcast, knows what that feels like.
Except for Onishi. Onishi didn't feel like it was child-parent relationship.
No, he did not.
He's cashing in on a spinoff.
Yep.
That's right.
Something about a Milky Way galaxy of the galaxy of your Milky Way or something.
That was the name of her fighting outfit or fighting form.
Yeah, that's the name of the anime.
Yeah, and so now it's going to be an anime. But okay, so basically everything, the world goes back to normal. I loved how they pointed out that critics didn't super love the event, but it still was popular.
Yeah.
And then Meteora tells all the creations like, "Hey, my magic's starting to shrink. We only have a few days left. Do what you gotta do, and then we'll leave." And so everyone kind of there's touching scenes of saying goodbye for a lot of them. I did like Yuya and Shows with their creator, and he's still, but you guys spoiled the ending. And they're like, "Yeah, you'll figure it out."
Yep. Got faith in you.
And then Meteora makes a big portal, and everyone goes home. I really like Blitz and his daughter leaving, talking to their creator.
Oh my gosh,
like,
that was great.
You guys fight hard because I'll probably kill you again.
Yep. Yeah, that was really good.
And he's like, "I would kill you, but I know it'd be pointless."
Yes. I love the way that he named the creators. Basically, he said they're just fate that with a personality tacked on, or something like that.
Which came from Yuya, right? Wasn't that Yuya's thing? Because Sho was like, "Well, then let's go get the creator." He's like, "They're just like fate with a personality."
I thought that was Blitz, but it could have been Yuya.
Yuya came up with it, and Blitz walks up behind him and says, "You're really wise."
You're right.
Thought of it that way. And then Blitz adopted that idea later when they're leaving. He does kind of re-say it.
It's great.
Yeah, so everyone goes, and then when they find out Meteora can't go home because it'd be like picking yourself up and throwing yourself. And she doesn't have enough magic to do that, so she decides to stay behind and become a creator. She becomes a writer.
She's basically Pinocchio. She becomes a real boy.
She becomes a real boy. Weird. I also like that the council head, Aki, decides to become a creator, and because she made all these contacts making this big event, and so she has all these ins now. Alice's creator wins a big award. Matsubaru's
that was so fitting.
Gets a second season of his anime. There was one that wasn't listed, but it meant a lot to me. Mamika and Alice get a crossover.
I was going to mention that if no one else did.
I really like that. And then the end scene is Meteora calling Soda, who's still not very popular with his art, but is fine with it. And she asks him when he should call her new novel, and he's like, Recreators. The end.
Yep.
So the one thing that bugged me was in this entire thing, where was Megane? And her power was still fully in effect when she was talking about the food gold and brought Setsune to life.
But
where is she? Is her power waning? What is she doing? Does she want to stay in this world anymore?
It was very well established that reality is taking all their powers away.
Yep.
Right. So,
unless she's found some way to avoid it with her magic.
It felt very unresolved with Megane, and I was that was the one disappointed thing. Besides that, really didn't have anything to complain about this ending scene. It felt a nice consolidation of closure. And you know how I like closure of my things I watch.
Megane is the dropped.
Yeah. She's the glaring hole in the wonderfully opposed story.
We last see her in an airport going who knows where, watching the event on a phone.
Yeah, you're right. She was.
Yeah, so she's taking off for parts unknown, and they don't even mention that she's missing. Like, hey, should we find that homicidal maniac that we left behind? Look, the council's disbanding. We don't got time for that.
Oh my god, you're right. They even oh my god.
So, but I do believe she lost her powers because Meteora says that reality is very firmly reestablishing itself on them.
So maybe her teeth will not be sharp soon.
Sure. And I think unless you guys have something else to add, we should go to final reviews, and you can do this section of the anime and the anime as a whole.
cool. That'd be cool, guys.
So for me, I'm going to give this second section a 4 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. Connected fantastically emotionally with the storytelling and the characters. But the reason I don't give it a 5 is because my favorite character from the first season was not taken care of. I felt she was dropped. Magane deserved more than that.
She was kind of pooped on.
Right?
He wrote a whole essay on it, guys, which you can go read on our blog.
That's
right. That's right.
But as a whole, 5 Bakas, because this is definitely to put in the top 10, top 20 anime must watches. Brilliant storytelling, great animation, amazing voice acting, and emotional connections that I have not had with an anime ever.
Not even ReZero?
ReZero did not make me tear up. It made me connect emotionally fantastically, and I loved that anime, but this just went straight for my heart more than once. And
you didn't tear up when Rem was getting ripped apart, like broken?
No, we can't do spoilers. They might not have...
No. But yeah.
With the spoiler warnings for one anime at a time, guys.
Oh, whoops.
Spoilers.
Okay. Jeremy, what's your review?
I would give this half also a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. There's some things that just don't appeal to me personally as much, and some
emotions, feelings.
Yeah, but I gotta say, I got choked up when Alice died.
Yeah, you did. You copped to choking up. Yeah, I give you a hard time, but you actually are honest when something does reach you.
When I do, I got choked up when Celestia died. Even though, like, I can understand their relationship, her and Charon, a bit. And so seeing that noble death where she did what was required to get rid of the last shield in front of Altair, right? It had some great moments, quite a few of them. But it still does not pull it up to 5 for me. So definitely 4 Bakas for this half of the season. And it doesn't get to 5 for me for the whole thing, but it's between 4 and 5. I just got to pull it down to 4 though.
I'm actually going to match Jason 4 for this one. I feel a few characters are underdeveloped or under paid attention to, and I feel like you could have added 2 episodes to do it, or not done a recap episode, or just battled even a little less. For the most part, I enjoyed. I do actually think the pacing was better. I like that they took a whole episode for an epilogue. I think more animes need to do that. Too many times, the final battle is in the final episode, and then there's 5 minutes, and we don't even understand what the epilogue means. I hate that. So I really do appreciate that they took the time to really develop this ending.
The closure felt so good.
But there was a sacrifice paid for it. So 4 for this section. I'm going 5 for the whole thing for a very different reason. I think there's a ton to dig into in this anime. I think people who like to do fan art and fan fiction could really dive into. I think if we the 3 of us started talking about it, we could argue about certain theories and stuff for hours. And I think there's a ton of stuff in the world building and a ton of stuff in the meta-ness of this anime that there's a lot to think about here. And we dug into it for 4 hours total, and there's still stuff we skipped over, didn't have time to fully go into. And I really appreciate that. This is like one of the deepest layered animes I've seen in a long time.
I've never written an essay on anything. So I'd be moved to the point where I wanted to make an essay literally on one character that was not even a main character.
And I think you could do something like that with each of these characters.
Every single one of them.
Yeah. I want to see more. I hope that they do more side stories. Tell us about Magane. Give us the events that took place between the 2 seasons. The 6-month pass. Tell us about other characters that in other situations, because Altair opened a doorway and now there's a real issue where characters are just coming through sometimes. Meteora staying here. Tell us, keep it going. I would like that.
Nice. So if you have thoughts on Recreators Section 2 or the whole thing or anything that's coming up in the future, you can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast. Our email is the animebakaclub@gmail.com. That's all one word and all lowercase. Our next anime is called Made in Abyss. Got that right?
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like there should be a "the" there, but there's not, and I'm okay with that. This is a newer anime that's come out recently, and it's about a young girl who finds a robot boy deep in a underground mine cavern
Abyss.
Which okay, probably should have guessed that. The art style looks very unique, and I'm actually really interested in, and Jeremy has pointed out it's getting great reviews, so I'm sure we'll all love it. But that is our next anime, and then we'll also have a minisode next week that you should tune into and see what we're talking about there once we figure it out.
And
Roy's excited. We've got some interesting ideas.
leave in the comments how right I was.
About what? What about what specifically?
About anything I disagreed with Troy on.
Okay, that's about what I expected. Okay, let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Have a good one.
Sayonara.